Let's give it up.
The GDA Radio podcast is proudly supported by Rutus Metal Detectors. www.rutus.com.pl. App. Discover new possibilities.
Hey everybody, my name is Lance. You know me. Unfortunately, 42, the pretty voice, is not going to be around this week. We're going to try and make this a fun episode regardless. I'm not going to be so boring that I just make you guys fall asleep behind the wheel and crash into oncoming traffic. I promise. We got a great show for you guys today. Now, the good news is I'm finally about to be cleared to get back out and get metal detecting. I couldn't be happier. Got to go back into the doctor one last time next week. And with luck, I'm going to be out in a couple weeks metal detecting, getting my feet muddy in these fields and out in the woods, and finding me finally my gold coin with my Rutus Alter 71. I couldn't be more excited. You guys are just the driving force behind keeping me absolutely stoked and pointed in metal detecting, because I love looking at everything you guys are finding online. And you guys are really out there digging this stuff up, and I couldn't be more jealous. Pretty soon, I'm going to be out there digging as well. I'm so happy. I want to kind of get right into this show. It's not going to be the longest one. Like I said, 42 is not around. And, I can't really say that I'm the best by myself. Normally, I do like having the people along with me, but, I can't have somebody alongside me for the ride every time. I got to get used to doing this by myself, everybody. So, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to get right into the shout-outs.
It's the GDA shout-outs.
Same old intro. I hate that thing. Man, I got to find a new one. Here's a challenge for you guys. Anybody good at mixing stuff up, get me a brand new intro for the GDA shout-outs and find of the week. And we'll use that lovingly on the air. You guys can make it happen. I know this. But anyway, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Shane McNally. He gave me a comment on Spreaker for the podcast last week, and I laughed so hard when I read this. His comment was, "I'm partial to the Aussie lady's voice. Sorry, Lance." Well, you know what? I'm partial to her voice as well. I don't like listening to my own voice, so why do I think you guys want to listen to me for a whole show? Trust me, I would prefer to listen to just her rather than me. But anyway, I'm going to give another shout out to Mark Hoover for the amazing information that he posted on the Facebook Global Detection Adventures group about the history of the Buffalo Nickel. Now he also, I'm friends with him as well, but he also shared some fun photos of him and his lovely wife Gail as they were out in Florida. And as he said, quote, "metal detecting, fishing, and antiquing." Now it sounds like the two were having a great week and a great bit of fun, and seeing those photos, it looked like a fantastic time. I want to wish them both a great rest of the week. And in case you're wondering, yes, they did catch a fish while they were fishing off the dock, and actually it was Gail who caught it. So congratulations, Gail. Hope you guys had a really good dinner. That sounds like a lot of fun out there. I also want to give a shout out to Donald Johnson of New York, which will bring us straight into the find of the week, because he shared his amazing 1822 large cent that he found metal detecting. I am jealous. This is a great coin. Now, the large cents are slowly diminishing around the U.S. for a lot of people who don't know this, because there were only a certain amount printed or minted. And they're still available online for sale, but the numbers are slowly dwindling as the collectors start collecting these all up. So it's important for people like Don and the rest of us who are metal detecting that are finding them on lucky metal detecting trips. The good news is it brings the numbers back up onto the collector's market. So that's always a really good thing. Now, for those who don't know what the large cent is, it was a 1 cent coin that was printed right after we finally seceded from England and created the United States of America in 1776. And on the obverse of the coin is a beautiful face of Lady Liberty, who's in a left-facing profile. She's wearing a headband with the words Liberty on it, and Liberty is also surrounded by 13 stars representing the original 13 states of the Union of the United States. Now, the large cent coins are collectible, like I said, but the problem with anything collectible is they're also highly counterfeited as well. But, it's always really good that we know this is not a counterfeit coin. This is a coin that was found metal detecting, and good on Donald for picking this up. And even as I was looking at it, the coin, the way it sits right now, not even cleaned, could be worth between $25 and $45 on the market. Now, depending upon how good the condition is, that coin itself could be worth up to $200 plus. So congratulations on a wonderful find. That is absolutely a great find. I am jealous of you. I wish I could get something like that over here. I do get some of the great German coinage over here, including coins that date back to just after the turn of the first 1,000, so around the year 1,100 to 1,200, small hammered copper coins that were in this area at the time. So it's really great seeing that. So now what we're going to be doing is we got a really good show. This week's show is going to be slightly different. There's no story this week, but with me on the swing up from my recovery to get out and go metal detecting again in the next couple of weeks, we're going to start discussing some of the things that we need to consider, like this week, when purchasing a new machine to go metal detect, based off of if you're a new metal detector or if you just want to kind of move up from a first-time user machine. So if this is your second machine that you're going to buy, these are the kind of stuff that you're going to want to look at. Now, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about other stuff as well, stuff that's going to be important for metal detecting, especially so I can get back into the swing, get it, pun intended, of getting back out there and metal detecting. But first, we're going to go straight to a commercial, and we're going to get this done with, and then we'll be right back. Hey everybody, you're getting tired of hearing my voice? Make sure you head on over to rudus.com.pl. Rudus sponsors proudly the GDA Radio podcast, and they are the makers of the Alter 71, a fully customizable metal detector that creates a very personalized machine for the way you metal detect. Make sure you head on over to rudus.com.pl, check out the Alter 71, and see exactly what it is I'm talking about. This machine does not cost an arm and a leg. You do not need to take out a mortgage to buy it. It is a great top-of-the-line machine at a mid-range price. Believe me, this thing kicks butt. Anyway, check it out. Check out the Alter 71, and let's discover some new possibilities. Well, all right, we are back. Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever asked somebody what kind of car you should buy for your first car? Now, let me ask another question. How many people that you asked gave you a totally different answer? Now, let me ask you another question. How many of them told you that you should buy exactly the car they own? That's the same problem with deciding what metal detector to purchase. Now, first off, especially if we're talking about first-time purchases, it may be the best that you don't go out and buy a Lamborghini Murcielago as your first car. Every person needs to carefully weigh the usage that they want from a car and then choose wisely. Most people, but then again, there are some people that buy a car because, oh, it's so cute. But is it wise to buy a used car? Am I going off-roading? How many miles am I going to drive a day? Should I get a convertible, or is air conditioning going to be the best? No one ever runs off and buys a car without asking those kinds of questions. for the most part. I know there's a couple of you out there that just bought a car because, oh, did you see the Smart? It's so cute. I gotta get one of those. Anyway, but they also just don't run off and buy a car just because of the name brand of the car. Meaning, you just don't go and buy a Ford. You'll never hear somebody say, I just went in and bought the first Ford I saw on the lot. Metal detectors are exactly the same. You need to always consider three things. These three things are probably the most important right offhand. I know, don't jump on me and say that there's about a million different things that you need to consider. But these three things are some of the things that you really need to consider before choosing a brand of metal detector. What type of ground do we typically have? Number two is, where am I detecting? I mean by that, like beach, field, woods, underwater. And then number three, one of the most important, is how much weight can carry for an extended period of time on your arm. These are the very first questions that we need to ask. This talk today is mostly for the newbies, but this goes for anybody else wanting to upgrade, like I said earlier. There are tried and true brands and models out there, and every user will swear by whatever machine they're currently using. There's always that one guy that's going to say, oh no, the MindLab CTX 3030 is the best there ever will be. And no, I'm not pointing out anybody. I'm not trying to single out anybody. This isn't about you guys. This is about letting the people who want to jump into the hobby know how to look for a machine for themselves. Now, there's others that are going to say, I believe the Garrett Ace 350 is the best, or I believe the Garrett AT Pro is the best. Others will say the XP Deus is the best. There's always going to be somebody that says it's the best. But when you look at it, those are the exact same models that they actually have. So that doesn't mean something that's great for them is going to be good for you as a newbie or a recent addition to the metal detecting hobby. So, never take other people's word for it. In the end, it's your decision. And many of these people will tell you what they use because it's what they use. There's other people out there that are sponsored by brands as well, and they're going to tell you to use that brand as well. They're going to say, use the Garrett. They're the best machines out there. Of course, they're going to say that they're sponsored by them. Now, even GDA is sponsored. I'm not going to lie. We're sponsored, as you heard in the commercial, as you hear at the beginning of every episode. GDA is sponsored by the Rutus Ultra 71, or Rutus just in general. But the thing is that we know in GDA, me, 42, Matt Howell, and everybody else who's tied together as far as being in one of the positions in GDA, we know that, everybody can be sponsored by somebody, but just because you're sponsored doesn't mean that you have to blanket the entire world that is the only machine that they can use or should use. It is very much a personal experience to choose the metal detector that you want to use. Now, GDA knows that the metal detector needs to be an extension of the user. It needs to be an extension of the user. It is a tool. It doesn't matter what machine you use. You will find something. Many say this one is better, as I went over an area I hunted before with another brand and I found things that the other one couldn't. Well, yes and no. In a couple of the cases, I know for a fact they were using a much larger coil the second time they went over it. And they also had a very different setting the next time they went over it. It's going to do that no matter what machine. You could use the same machine in the same place 10 times. And if you change the settings every time, you're going to have different results every time. So here are the things that you need to know. Like I was telling you on that list on top, the three most important. Number one is, what type of ground do you have? So go out and take a look. This is not a massively important step, but you would be surprised how many machines react differently to the mineralization content in soil. A Garrett Ace or an AT Pro is not a great machine for the ground right here where I'm at in Germany. It is a extremely high mineralization, but machines like the XP and the Rooter Alter 71, it can really tear through the ground without a problem. But that's completely thankable to the customizable ground balancing. The XP I can actually physically change the ground balancing myself to a very specific number, a very specific setting. The Alter 71, I can just hit a button and change my ground balance as I'm on the go. Because even here in Germany, we have every 100 meters or so, the ground soil can change drastically based on the way a farmer or two different farmers work their soil. So it's going to make a huge difference. That's why machines such as the lower to mid-range Garretts aren't going to work quite as good as these other ones. The XP, like I was saying, I keep on a constant ground balance setting, which I believe don't quote me on this. I think it was set on a 58. I think 53 or 58. I think it was currently setting. But like I said with the Alter 71, every time I go about 100 yards, I re-ground balance because the tones become more accurate. So, do you live in a high mineralization area? That's one of the important things that you need to think about. So you need to find a machine that's really good on ground balancing for those high mineralization areas. Then you have sandy areas like, let's take Australia, South Africa, or some of the southern United States like South North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee. Those kind of areas right there have a very sandy soil. And so machines like the Garrett, they are perfect for those areas. They will tear through there. So you don't need to buy one of those higher range machines where you have to have very specific ground balancings. These machines will tear through that sand like you wouldn't believe. We have a good friend of ours, Randall Garrett, no relation to the Garrett machines, who lives in Texas. And he's used both the Garrett and the Deus out there. And he loves both of the machines. Now, he says out in that area, they work equally as well. They're really good because of the soil conditions. So they're both able to find really accurately the kind. Now, obviously, the XP Deus has a lot more personalization in the way he can metal detect, and he prefers that machine overall. But for somebody who's new to the hobby, those kind of personalization settings aren't as necessary as being able to get out into the area with a machine that can really tear through the soil. And then you have also, in case like a machine like the Ace 150 would be an amazing introduction machine, and it handles amazing in areas such as this. I used an Ace 200i in Washington State when I was helping my sister locate some horseshoes out there. And I was actually kind of amazed that on the West Coast, that soil that's around the Seattle area, it's really decent metal detector out there. It's not so high on the mineralization, right, where she's at. Even with the horse farm and everything else, it's not too bad. But an Ace 150 and Ace 200 handles amazing in areas like sandy areas or like out on the West Coast near Seattle, Washington. These areas, it handles amazing. And the best thing about these is that it doesn't cost too much for a beginner. And as a rule of thumb, when it comes to the Garrett machines, just place a $sign in front of the model number. You'll have a general idea around what it's going to cost. So the Ace 150 is going to cost around $150. The Ace 200i is going to cost around $200, etc. Now, the price and the model numbers have to deal with the abilities of the machine. An Ace 150 has no VDI numbers, which gives you a number for the type of metal that's in the ground. But the 200i is the first one to actually have that. Now, those numbers are important because over time, you will suddenly be able to realize what number represents silver, what number represents iron, what number represents steel, what number represents lead. And that really helps you down the line when metal detecting because you'll be able to kind of get from the tone that the machine gives you and the number that you see, you'll kind of get an idea exactly what it is you're going to be dealing with in the ground. Now, so that's a huge question to ask. What kind of soil are you dealing with when you're metal detecting? Now, the next question that I posed was number 2. Where am I detecting? Now, this is important for a couple reasons. Again, like the ground type, this one makes a difference with coil sizes as well. Now, when I'm out in the woods metal detecting, I normally have 3 coils with me. I'll have like a ground area, a base area where I keep a bag with my coils, and then from there I kind of do a rotating circle from that point outwards. So if I need to change coils, I always got that coil nearby. I can go switch and get back out to where I was. I typically use the 11-inch double D coil on the Rudus Ultra 71. It gives me a much larger area to cover, and it gives me a slightly deeper signal. And depending upon how I personalize it is exactly how deep I can get with it. Now, in areas, but that's in areas that have almost no undergrowth. Now, I also have a 9-inch double C coil, which I use to get in the areas where there's more undergrowth and bushes and everything else in the wooded areas. And then when I get into a really heavily undergrowth area, I have the 5-inch sniper coil as well. So I have the ability to get out there and really get into some areas. Now, that's a great idea. Those are great ones to have. Those are the same coils I would use on a field as well, one of the farm fields, because the 11-inch gives me a much larger search rate, and the sniper I can really use on an area where there's a lot of trash signals in the ground. So these are always good things to have with me. But then you got to ask, am I going to be metal detecting a beach more often? Now, that's when you need to start looking for a machine that's better suited for beach conditions. An XP Deus will work, but it's not necessarily designed for beaches as the main place to detect with it. So you need to start weighing the options. What kind of machines are really good out there? Should I take an Ace 150 out there? Well, probably not. It's not really the most waterproof metal detector there is out there. And if you're getting close to the shoreline, then you might start thinking about machines that are really good with the water. Then you got to also start thinking about, okay, there's mineralization from the salt, from the sand, from all kinds of other interactions as well. So you really got to start thinking about what kind of machine and look into those as well. Then you also have the idea, am I going to be metal detecting a farm field? If you are, a bigger coil might be the way to go with that, because that bigger coil can give you a deeper signal and give you a much larger search area. I prefer my bigger coil on the fields because I can really get out there, get those deep signals, and find some really good stuff that are 11, 12, 13 inches down. And even further, I've the one wax stamp that I had was a good, I think it was 18 inches down. So it's a really 15 and 18 inches, but it's a really good coil to be using. These are important things to look at. So start looking online for a machine that would work really good for where it is that you want to metal detect. Start taking these notes, am I going to be in woods and am I going to be on a beach? So what kind of machine is good for both? Those are the kind of things. Now, the third one that you really need to take a look at is how much your arm can cover in weight. Now, what do I mean? Every metal detector has a different weight. Now, you got to think that's always located from your elbow to your hand on whichever hand that you're using it. So however heavy that machine is, you're going to be swinging this thing back and forth in about, a 60-degree arc in front of you. You're going to be doing that for hours on end. And you're going to be holding it above the ground. That means that whatever weight that machine has, you're going to be holding it off the ground, swinging it back and forth in front of you. So that's one of the things. If you have one of those arms that are pencil thin, you're not going to go out and get a CTX 3030 and expect to be able to swing that thing around for 6-8 hours a day. It's just going to be too heavy for you. But, if you can do it then it might be the kind of machine that you want to use. You need to always take a look at the weight differences between all these machines because it is extremely important for you to know what your limitations are for the kind of weight you can carry. Now, like I said, you're going to be swinging this back and forth for hours. Some weigh 2 pounds, some weigh 6 pounds, like I was saying. So here's a comparison of some of the machines, including the batteries. Now, the MindLab CTX 3030 weighs a total of 5.1 pounds. The White Spectra V3i is 4.4 pounds. The Rudis Ultra 71 is 3.5 pounds. The Garrett AT Pro is 3 pounds. And the other ones are just generally around that area as well. And the XP Deus is 2.6 pounds. So there's a major decisive factor that you need to look at. The XP Deus is almost half the weight of the CTX 3030 and the White Spectra V3i. Now, I know Dave D., my former co-host, he moved from the White Spectra V3i to the XP Deus, and he was more enthralled by how wonderful the XP Deus was as a machine in comparison to the White Spectra V3i. So much so, he even changed his YouTube name from V3i Sweeper to XP Dave. Just a crazy thing. Now, the cost range between those two is about half the price as well. So it's, when you're talking around $2,000 and then the other one's about $1,200, it is a major jump. Now, the Rudis Ultra 71 is about $600. The MindLab CTX 3030 is probably around $2,200 to $2,500. And then the Garrett AT Pro, like I had said earlier, is based almost on the number. I think the AT Pro is $600 as well. So, and like I said, you need to start looking into these. The major decisive factor on the end of this is you. So basically, to conclude everything on this, as a purchaser of a new metal detector, there may be many factors to look into. These are just 3 of the majors. There are a million others. I know you're going to, come and throw all kinds of tweets and Twitters and whatever kind of tweets there are out there. But someone shouldn't just go out and buy a monster truck because they look cool. You might not be able to drive it. That is the most important thing. You need a car that you can use and you know how to drive. And it is exactly that way with a metal detector. A brand new person does not go out and buy a CTX 3030 or a White's V3i as their first machine, unless they've done hours and hours and hours and hours of research into exactly how that machine works. And then when they got it in their hand, they do more hours and hours and hours of research into making sure they know how to use it for when they get out there. Or do you want a machine that you can basically get it out of the box, pop it all together, put the shaft on, put the coil on the end, wrap that cable around, plug it into the control module, and just get out there and start metal detecting? That would be one of the Garretts. So in the end, you are the most decisive factor. Asking other people what they would recommend is probably not the greatest thing to do, because you're always going to get that answer from them. The one I got is the best one. And that's what they're going to say. They're always going to say the one that they have is the best. And believe me, just like with Dave, he said the V3i was the greatest metal detector there is. And next thing you know, he's using a XP Deus, and now he's saying that's the greatest one. I was the same way with the XP Deus. Now I've got the Rudis Ultra 71, and I think that's the greatest one I've ever used. It comes down to the personal opinion. Asking people what they recommend might not be the best answer. You're always going to get different answers. But anyway, I and Rudis know that, whatever everybody tells you is not the best answer. And that's why Rudis backs me up on this, because they know just because this show is sponsored by Rudis, the Rudis might not be the best one for you. But if you know about metal detecting, check them out. But that's it. This isn't an extended commercial for the Alter 71. Check out all these other metal detectors. They're great. They're absolutely great. And make sure that the one that you get is the one that you wanted, not the one that somebody else told you. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you look into it. There are so many great metal detectors out there, and there is one that'll be perfect for you. You just got to get out there and take a look at them. But that's it. Those are the 3 points that I really wanted to hit on to make sure that you guys know, especially for you newcomers to the hobby or the people that want to kind of move up to the next level of metal detectors, which ones would be the best ones. Now, I'm not the greatest authority. Trust me, I am not trying to say that I am the authority on anything metal detecting. I am just a guy who really enjoys metal detecting and has a podcast about it. I love what I do. I love what you guys do. I love seeing everything that you guys share. Make sure you head on over to the Global Detection Adventures Facebook group. Join up. Share with us some of the finds that you guys are locating out there in the middle of the fields. If you're on Instagram, use the hashtag GDA Pod, and we will see that. We will share those photos on Instagram. We will even bring some of them over to Facebook and advertise it. If you're lucky, just like this week, you might be hosted on the Find of the Week, just like Donald was. And, you never know. The only way that you're going to be able to get onto the show as a shout out or a Find of the Week is to start sharing the finds that you're locating. And the only way you do that is to be a member of the Global Detection Adventures podcast on Facebook. Make sure you get over there and join up. Find us on Instagram. Find me on Twitter at Lance Goolsby, all one word. And find us online. Make sure you check out our brand new website. I love this thing, gdapod.com. You can find every single one of our episodes of the podcast. Listen to it right there on the website. You don't need to download it on anything. You could even listen to it at work. It is work friendly. It is a really good website, a lot of news and information. I'm going to be trying to keep that thing up to date every single week, and show notes from this one will be on there as well, including a transcript of everything that I just said, the basic script that I used for the day. So if you want to see some of the things that I was talking about, check it out there. But that's it for this show, everybody. Thank you so much for listening in. You guys really create what the Global Detection Adventures is. I want to thank 42 Matt Howell and everybody else that's responsible for keeping Global Detection Adventures alive, which includes you. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking to you, the person that's listening to this right now. I know you're going, is he talking about me? Yes, I'm talking about you. Stop asking that question. Yes, it's you. You right there. Yep. Yeah, you. Okay. Thank you for listening to the Global Detection Adventures Radio podcast. You guys really make this happen. Your support makes this show continue every single week. You guys are the greatest metal detectors on the planet. You guys are finding all the history. You're digging it up and you're getting it out there. So that's it from me this week. All right. You guys rock. Love you so much. And to anybody else that I might have forgot, thanks so much for listening. And as always, to my dad, love you, Dad. Talk to you real soon. Hope you like the show. And Bob Hope, you are not the comedian, my good friend over in England. All right, we'll talk later, everybody. I'll see you guys out on the field. Let's dig it up, y'all.
The GDA Radio podcast is proudly supported by Rudis Metal Detectors. www.rutus.com.pl. And discover new possibilities.